This episode is brought to you by the Toyota Grand Highlander. Life's journey brings constant change filled with exciting surprises and grand challenges. And with its spaciousness, power, and style, the Toyota Grand Highlander is more than a vehicle. It's your partner in embracing all life throws at you. From the spacious adult-sized third row to seating for up to 8 passengers, the Toyota Grand Highlander is up for every grand challenge. Learn more at toyota.com/Grand Highlander. Toyota, let's go places.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Business. How can you free up your team from time-consuming office tasks? Amazon Business empowers leaders to not only streamline purchasing, but better support their teams so they can focus on strategy and growth. Free up your teams and focus on your future. Learn more about the technology, insights, and support available at amazonbusiness.com.
Good afternoon, guys. Wherever you are in the world, I've got Dr. Rob Kelly from San Antonio, Texas, and he's going to talk to us all about the work that he's doing. He's with the Rob Kelly Group. It's a telehealth neuroscience coaching company, and he's got an amazing story how he helps patients overcome addiction and helps others reach their potential. And for the physicians, scientists, aspiring entrepreneurs, it's great to hear about the work that he's doing, and I'm really happy to have him on. Rob, welcome.
Thank you so much, Christopher. Great to be here.
Yeah. Briefly introduce yourself and we'll dive into the questions.
Brilliant. Hey guys, my name is Dr. Rob Kelly. I'm a double PhD, behavioral science, psychology, who are also neuroscience experts. Despite the accent, guys, I'm over in San Antonio, Texas, but we do have 5 offices around the world, which I'm very proud of.
Yeah. Yeah. And what led you to found the Rob Kelly Group, and what's interesting is discuss the work that you're doing to help patients overcome addiction.
I was an alcoholic and grew up in an alcoholic family, and took my first drink at the age of 9. And what started me on this is I lost everything and became homeless. And I was living on the streets for about 14 months. And what I couldn't get over is why a doctor couldn't tell me what's wrong with me. They said you have a drink problem, just stop drinking. And I couldn't do that. And I lost my children, and I put my wife in hospital several times in a blackout. And I just thought, if I ever get off the streets, I'm going to spend the rest of my life helping people and finding out what the brain's up to. So we cover addiction, alcoholism, childhood trauma, depression, onset dementia, PTSD, anything to do with sight. And we think after 10,000 patients with a 98% success rate, whether you have something wrong or you want to be an entrepreneur, how do we take your business from 100 grand to 1 million? We have a 98% success rate. Unheard of, but we're more neuroscientists than we are psychologists.
Yeah. Interesting. And talk about the actual process. So people, if they're struggling with addiction, how can telehealth neuroscience coaching company do? Is it just coaching? Is it behavioral? Talk about that.
So we have a couple of things that nobody else has. The idea, let's talk about drinking. It could be depression. Alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism. Same with addiction, same with mind strength or whatever you want to be. It's 1% of what you're going through. I never had a drinking problem, I had a thinking problem. So when we started to discover exactly what's going on with the subconscious mind, the conscious mind, and the brain as a whole, we realized that childhood trauma is the gateway drug for anybody that wants to be successful. And we have to look at the patterns, the neural pathways, neurotransmitters that are self-sabotaging in many people due to the childhood trauma. And we need to reroute those. So we have tools like brain spotting, psychology, NLP, and we also have a software called 9-Dimensional Journey, which is a 9-dimensional subliminal software with a main voice and music on headphones and a blackout mask. And it reroutes and replans the hypothalamus, the basal ganglia, and the amygdala. They're the 3 things that stop us from succeeding as we go on later in life. So if you're struggling with business, if you can't keep relationships, if you have an addiction problem, depression, it comes from the childhood trauma. There's a direct correlation that you can't make yourself because it sits in the subconscious mind. The problem with that is the subconscious mind loves hypoxic situations. So when we arise from sleep, So in a normal circadian sleep time between 2 and 5 is when the body is like most repaired and the oxygen is low. So we found a method real easy to get rid of the subconscious brain that really wants to kill us and make you look like an accident, and vitalize with oxygen the conscious brain. When we do that, our life changes.
Interesting. And so I love this idea because you've got addiction services, and it's got different interventions, it's got coaching, and then addressing the soul component of trauma. What's really interesting is a lot of you've helped clients come out of addiction and actually achieve their potential, actually do something positive. And talk about results coaching, particularly when you talked about brain spotting and somatic experience. What is that?
Most of our problems lie in the subconscious brain, as we know. The conscious brain doesn't get unlucky. So when the prefrontal cortex asks for an answer to a problem, it's very good at what it does, but it doesn't have to be the right answer to that particular problem. So we look at what's hidden in the subconscious brain. So everything we see, hear, feel, touch from birth is stored there. There are billions upon billions of memories and recalls. So what we have to do is we have to go into there. The hypothalamus can be repaired. The basal ganglia can be repaired, which is our repetition strength and confirms part of the brain. So let's just take an alcoholic, for instance. The hypothalamus is the culprit here. So alcoholics are born, drug addicts are made. So the hypothalamus is the bad guy. The hypothalamus controls our temperature, our survival instinct. So it tells us from birth that I need to drink water, eat food to survive. At a certain point of the alcoholic's journey, it turns around and tells the alcoholic to drink alcohol only to survive. That's why I could go days or weeks without food or water, because the survival part of the brain is telling me how to drink. Coming into entrepreneurs is telling me to fail, because at a certain point when the basal ganglia, that repetition strength and confirms part of the brain, with most people with childhood trauma, is broken. It's not snatched together. So what happens is when entrepreneurs move forward, they go, oh, I've almost got it. They'll self-sabotage it and bring it all down, crashing on them and not even know about it. So what we found with addiction, the way we repair the addicted brain and the alcoholic brain is the same treatment we use for depression, for PTSD, for entrepreneurs, for success in life. Whatever you want to do, it transforms and repatterns all of the brain that needs to be done. And what happens is when the energy of the mind, because you can't see it, touch it, feel it, guys, it sits inside the brain, which is matter, hence the same mind over matter. If we can program this guy first thing in the morning going on to tell the brain what to do, then we're heading in the right direction. So we need to find out exactly the trauma, get rid of it, and then program the mind for success. For us, it's easy and simple, but obviously we've been doing this for 30 years.
Interesting. And what about I talked to a lot of my friends and colleagues, they're entrepreneurs, and they talk about how breath work has really helped them address childhood traumas. And to the lay person listening to a podcast, they're like, how does breath work heal trauma? Talk about this. You have a 90 breath work framework, what it is and why and how it helps to resolve childhood trauma.
So we only breathe 45% of our lung capacity when we're at rest or anything else. The only reason you feel great going to the gym, guys, is not the exercise, it's this in between the sets. So if we're only breathing 45% and the brain needs 100, then we're lacking. That breath work is lacking. So when we wake up in the morning, again, lack of oxygen, we need to fully start the oxygen flowing. First thing in the morning, we do 20 exaggerated breaths in and out. No other breath work is needed apart from that. And it restructures the brain completely. But we have to remember, again, 45% of our lung capacity. So we came up with a saying that the presence of oxygen equals the lack of disease. So our trials or researchers, and everything I say is a trial research. So what happens is, obviously, cancers, growths, everything else starts in the hypoxic area of the body. There are other indicators, but basically it's in a hypoxic area. So if we can fill that hypoxic area first thing in the morning and follow simple rules throughout the day, then it repairs. When the mind changes and connects with another power, we truly believe, and the repatterning of the brain, our DNA changes. Why is that important? I'm not the same guy as I was when I was home. When we find this time and time again with people, it's like, we're the only company in the world, Christopher, that offer a money-back guarantee. If you don't earn the $1 million that you wanted to earn, if you relapse, if you get depressed, we're the only company that does that, because we have such a high 98-99% success rate that we work with, that we're very serious about changing people. And we're very serious about people only living around 50 to 55% of their capability and capacity. And of course, that goes straight back to the childhood trauma.
Good night, itchy eyes. Good night, sudden sneeze. Good night to your symptoms of allergies. Xyzal is the allergy medicine you take before bed. It provides powerful relief while you rest your head. Not just all night, but all the next day. Xyzal keeps working, keeping allergies at bay. And without those annoying symptoms disturbing your rest, you can wake up the next morning feeling your absolute best. Remember, be wise all. Take Xyzal. At night.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. And the next question is, so it sounds like the next question I have for you is, with the work that you're doing, talk about some of the results or transformations that people have come through your recovery group that you've seen and witnessed.
So what people don't know usually about us is you have to pass an assessment before we take you on. This is one reason why the success rate is so high. So we need to make sure that you're ready. Whether you want to be an entrepreneur or you're a drug addict, we have to make sure that you're ready when we take you on. And then the first session is planning out what you want to do in life. So it's a 3-month online, 90% is telehealth, 1 hour a day with me, with therapists, psychologists on different days. And we repattern them thought patterns. So if you wanted to earn, I don't know, you're on 20 grand now, you want to earn 100, we make that our primary goal. And with subliminal messaging and directing of neural pathways, that becomes the truth. What we found with the brain is it doesn't know the difference between the truth and the false. So we live in that world today. So if I'm fretting about tomorrow, I've lost today. And if I'm depressed about yesterday, I've lost today. The key is to living today psychologically, not just like one day at a time thing. It doesn't mean anything. Psychologically, all the changes happen today. And we can make things happen, as in you guys, that you thought was impossible. Take my journey, for instance, from a guy from the projects who then became homeless to one of the biggest, especially most wealthiest addiction doctors in the world. I personally just work with A-listers today, people that can't be seen in the media to come. So our methods are very sought after and we're very proud of them. And we're still learning, Christopher. When we got the 90s software, it was like, oh, I don't know about this. But as we learned more about it and went in different directions, we found out that an hour on 90 breathwork online or in person is like 12 months of normal therapy. And it's all results driven and subliminal driven from the start. So all the tools that we use, we start here, we get your goal here. And if we don't meet your goal, even if it's building $1 million business, then we will refund your money. We're the only people that do that. No program's the same. It all depends how you pass the assessment and how you turn up for your first session. But we are known for not taking any crap of anybody. I fired some of the biggest movie stars in the world because they didn't follow direction. I fired them on the spot. We are serious. If you want to change your life, we're the guys. If you don't, I turned a very famous singer down once for $1 million because she wasn't ready. I had $200 in the bank, Christopher. How easy would it have been to say, I'll take that, but I didn't take it because I know that I have God in my life. I have neuroscience in my life. I have all these tools that we use. And I know what we can do. And we're never going to sell out for money.
Interesting. And along those lines, your recovery program focuses on one-on-one coaching instead of traditional rehab. And why do you think one-on-one coaching versus traditional rehab is more effective?
Well, we found that the treatment centers and rehab have a very low percentage, 3 to 10%. Group therapy for me does not work, and we're a concierge service. So we're only taking on 3 or 4 patients every 3 months, when we have therapists that take on hundreds of patients here. But I can concentrate on them for, and I think the one-to-one is very intimate. We can get results. We can definitely plan subliminal messages easier than a group. And I think when somebody comes in on a one-to-one, they feel more relaxed and more important than sat in a group. Plus, you're never going to share the intimacy of the childhood trauma in a group. So a one-to-one setting seems to work for us.
A follow-up question I have for you is how do you help clients deal with the guilt and shame that they have when they relapse and feel like they failed?
Relapse is part, let's talk about alcoholism. Relapse is part of the disease, not part of the problem. So when we relapse, the basal ganglia and the hypothalamus are criminals here. They should go to jail in my opinion. But what we do is we work with them and they realize after a few sessions that the guilt and the shame is not theirs to carry, period. And that in this particular case, alcoholism is a disease because of the hypothalamus, and that we don't have any choice when the hypothalamus takes over and hijacks the brain. We don't have any choice of whether we or not. So the understanding, if me and you, Chris, come down to you and we went out in Austin right now to the high street and we have 10 people what alcoholism is, they'll say the same thing if somebody drinks too much alcohol. And so people are focusing on the alcohol. People are focusing on, I've just got 2 days sober. It's like, we're focusing on the wrong thing, guys. We've got to focus on what's really going on. Like when I was homeless, it pissed me off that nobody knew. I was going to give you the guy that studied my arsehole to find out exactly what's going on. So I think the education and understanding when they come in that the relapse was okay and probably the best thing you ever did, because now people who relapse are usually at crossroads. I love people at crossroads because we have 4 ways to go. We've finally had it up in this crossroads and want to do something with our lives. We can take you down the right path as opposed to the subconscious brain taking you down the wrong path. And again, alcoholism will never come to me on a Friday night and go, hey, Rob, let's have a drink. It's at least a week before when I start relapsing. So it's the behavior. So somatic experience is really important with us. If you can see the behavior where you start to change before you self-sabotage at least a week later, then that's part of the key.
Well, and how important is family involvement in addiction recovery, and what can addicts do to garner the support of loved ones to help them support them while they're struggling?
I smile, Krista, because very few people ask me that question. And it's what we found with our research over the last 10 years with the family is it's a family disease, but it's a family recovery. So what we call the family unit. Let me explain real easy. So let's say we've got the alcoholic household there. We've got mom, we've got dad, we've got children. The dad's the alcoholic. Okay. Let's say, for instance, this house speaks English. What treatment centers tend to do is take the guy out of the house, take him somewhere else. Recovery has its own language. So let's say it's Spanish. So these are speaking English. He's been taught how to speak Spanish. We pick him up, we put him back in the same house. Everyone's going to start speaking English again. So the family systems needs to be involved, and this is how we do it. When the patient comes on, he signs up for 90 days every day. We will not take the patient, let's say it's a man, we will not take the patient on unless the wife comes on for 2 days a week. And anybody over the age of 18 that's living in that house comes on for 2 days a week. So what we're doing as we go through the process is we're teaching them the same language, which is a different language to what they're used to, and the understanding. And most women, when they come to us, they go, it's not my problem. Yeah, I don't know why I've got to do it in here. And we go, if you don't, we'll turn the husband on, first of all. And secondly, Mrs. Smith, can you explain to me why you allow your husband to come on 2 or 3 nights a week drunk and physically beat you in front of your 2 children? Then the waterwork starts on the understanding that if we don't treat the family, we walk away, that we can't heal them, we can't fix them. So it's absolutely vital that we make sure the family is part of this journey.
Interesting. And to round it out, in this journey of helping thousands overcome addiction, what's the biggest lesson you've learned that you, either for yourself or your family or your team and for others?
The biggest lesson I learned is I was aghast how everybody can change. I was aghast how easy it was, how people can change. There's certain rules to the change, of course, but we've seen everything and anything. We've seen guys that have lived on the project, never went to college, never went to school, become one of the biggest companies in the world. We've seen road sweepers suddenly own that company that they work for. We've seen some amazing things on the way. We just love it. We love seeing it. This is my paid for. I don't get involved in the finances. But when I see somebody go through this journey, when I see miracles happen on a daily basis, whatever you believe in, Uncle Jimmy, universe, it doesn't make any difference. But there is some kind of connection there with us. Neuroscience tells us that. Quantum physics tells us that to a certain degree. We just see these people go on and 100% succeed. And we know that the one person that's doing that has the family behind him. And once we get that train moving, there's literally no stopping it. It's like, I tell people, so I'm blue in the face, you can change. You can 100% change, and you can be anybody and anything that you want to be. Anybody. It's 100% possible and guaranteed. And then once they find out and they move forward, because people like me from the projects, alcoholic, homeless, lost his children when they were 1 and 3 years old, devastated. Me, not supposed to sit where I am now. How's that possible? How have I come from living on the street to $100 million company? How does that happen? Of course it happened, because we know how this intricately works. But that's my biggest lesson I've learned through 35 years of being in this industry.
Yeah. Fascinating. How can people connect with you and check out your work and follow you?
If you are listening and not watching, guys, I spell my name with 2 B's. ROBBKELY.com is the website. Jump on any search engine, put Dr. Rob Kelly, 2 B's in there, and up I'll pop. You've seen all the great and amazing work that we do. You'll see a book on there. The last thing my daughter said to me, Daddy, please stop drinking. Do not buy it off Amazon. Okay? You see, mention either Christopher or I, either on social media or come direct to us, and I will sign the book. I will give it you free. I'll pay the shipping, and I'll send it out to you on what condition that you give it to somebody else when you finished it that will benefit.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Thanks. It's and that's for the gift for the audience and listeners. And thanks so much for coming on, and keep up the great work.
Thank you, Christopher.